Let's go. Oh, ballers and a bro fist to you all, for it is the 4th of July. It's America Day. Happy America Day, everybody. America! We've had a wonderful day. We celebrated America Day in absolute golden fashion. Yes, we did. We celebrated America Day by goofing up and saying, we're going to play the most patriotic game in existence, and we're going to live stream it. We're going to spend a good 7 hours going through our wonderful patriotic game. So that's what we did. We finished off Brutal Legend, a game I seriously recommend you guys pick up if you haven't, especially if you like your rock and or roll. If you like things like Lemmy, Slayer, even a drop of Cradle of Filth in that game, which is kind of surprising. It's a wonderful game. We finished that off, and then of course we jumped balls deep into the patriotism. We got our hearts on the line. That star-spangled banner was flying, and we rained down holy freedom on the terrorists in Modern Warfare 2. That didn't work out as planned, as you do in fact end up, which I didn't know. I genuinely did not know. I'd never played Modern Warfare 2's campaign, so we jumped straight into it. America gets goofed up. But it's alright, guys. We're bringing freedom home. We're bringing freedom home in true style. In true style. We're bringing freedom home. We're taking it to the terrorists on our own soil. We decided, of course, today that freedom is what we bring to other countries, but when it's on our own soil, not that I am from America, it's called hope. We were bringing hope. Over there, we're bringing freedom, and over here, we're bringing hope. And it was good to see all the Americans tuning in and having a good old time with that as we brought freedom to the masses, which is wonderful. Today, of course, is Thursday, which means it's the final kind of daily of the week, because tomorrow, of course, is Drama Friday. We always look forward to Drama Friday as a wonderful way to end our week. But that won't be the end of our live streaming efforts. I do intend to be streaming at some point on Sunday during the day, hopefully finishing off Modern Warfare 2. We're having a blast in that game. It's interesting, right? Call of Duty, bad rap. People either love Call of Duty or they hate Call of Duty. All these people just talk about the multiplayer generally. They either hate COD or they love COD, blah, 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 blah. I don't really care. What I did know is that Call of Duty has some of the biggest set pieces in games. People call it linear boring, but I call it big cinematic pieces. I know what I'm buying into. And everybody who kind of watched Call of Duty today, not everybody, some people already knew it, kind of changed their minds about Call of Duty. They were like, this game looks pretty fun. It does! It looks pretty fun. I didn't go to see Transformers to see a work of Shakespeare. You know what I mean? When I walked into Iron Man 3, I was not that concerned about the depth of the character development. I wasn't that bothered about that. Wasn't why I was there. I didn't come out of Transformers saying, dude, there are loads of explosions in that movie. I did not expect that. I knew what I was getting into with COD. I'm having a great old time flying snowmobiles off cliffs and generally rattling around the Star-Spangled Banner with miniguns, as you did too. And then, of course, we ended up sort of EMPing the East Coast of America, which is where we left the stream, actually, on Independence Day. We just EMP'd the East Coast. Washington, D.C. We EMP'd the shit out of Washington, D.C. It's not going well for freedom right now in Call of Duty with us in the stream, but we're gonna bring it home. We're gonna bring it home. I'm probably going to be streaming it tonight. I have to leave immediately after the daily and help Emma. Emma, unfortunately, for those of you who keep asking me, Emma's unfortunately suffered quite a bad back injury. Pretty grim, pretty grim. She's got quite a bad back injury, so she's kind of laid up. She's gone horizontal on her own ass, and she's laid up. She should be fine. It shouldn't be terrible, but she can't really walk or anything. So I have to go and do farm jobs. I have to go and pick shit out of hay. The joys of owning a horse. I have to go and do that. So I'll have to go and do that after the daily, but I will come back and before Mr. Ghost arrives, because it is Thursday, which means tonight we are working on our next P&G video. We have the game in mind. We've already written some stuff. We're going to be working on that tonight. Hopefully get it out to you guys as soon as possible. I will be streaming up until that point. So that might give us a couple of hours to try and bring freedom home. I would hope that we bring freedom home. I do not own a horse. Emma owns a horse, and she owned a horse before we mingled. Yeah, it's a horse. It's a pony. It doesn't interest me in the least, right? She tries to tell me that it's fun to have a horse. It seems to involve a lot of picking shit up. It seems to involve a lot of just being dirty. It seems to involve a lot of being expensive and being in a field and kind of having to be there every day, every single day, including Christmas Day. Yeah, the horse isn't freedom. The horse is like a terrorist in my life. I'm serious. The horse restricts my life. There's no freedom. That horse needs to see the rockets of freedom that we hailed down on people earlier. The minigun of freedom would be, you know, required in order to bring justice to that horse. It would be. So especially as it's going to interrupt my streaming of bringing freedom to go and clean up its crap and its piss. It's excellent. My dog, he goes in a field and does it, and I don't have to do anything. It's awesome. It's fantastic. So we're going to get a little bit serious today. A little bit serious for the remainder of this week. Resto Shaman, right? We had all this stuff about Resto Shaman. On Monday's Daily, we had this huge discussion on Resto Shaman problems. We brought up the topics that are the problems of the Resto Shaman and why they're crying. Because of tradition, of course, saying that Resto Shaman should be powerful now. Tradition, like freedom and 4th of July, it should in fact be Resto Shaman Power Town. This is it. We all waited. We suffered through Mr. Pandaria. We put up with all his shit, Blizz, and now is our time to be supreme, and it doesn't look like that is going to happen. Or does it? We wonderfully timed this daily because of the ultimate flip-flop of the developers. Them developers can tell you one thing one day, and then by Thursday, they change it anyway. They go ahead and change it. So, just to give you an example of what happened, to give you an example, I brought this up here, is on, what day was it? Let me make sure I get my days right so I don't goof anybody up. This was on, the 30th, so it's 5 days ago. On the 30th, Blizz came ahead and said, oh, Resto Shaman, stop your fucking whining, pretty much. And they said, hey, the Resto Shaman go, dude, you haven't compensated us for buffing everybody else's cooldowns, and our healing tide totem still fucking sucks, bro. What the hell, man? You made everybody else better, and, you know, we're not the best anyway. Why don't you give us a buff? Blizz came back and said, hey, quit your fucking jibber jabber. Quit your jibber jabber. Healing tide totem's a talent. It's not a fucking raid cooldown. It's not a big ability. It's not part of your core skills. So shut up. Stop going on about healing tide totem, right, bro? Stop it. You're not funny. That's what Blizzard said to the Resto Shaman. He said healing tide totem is a talent. Buffing it only makes it more mandatory for Resto. Anybody Resto Shaman not taking healing tide totem? I don't think so. I don't think so. Maybe the odd occasion. Even before that guy is like, well, I'll have you know that on Sulong, I took a different talent. So, you're wrong, preacher. Right? You're wrong. In before that guy. Buffing only makes it more mandatory. Spirit Link Totem is your cooldown. Hey, stop saying Healing Tide Totem is a cooldown. It's not. Spirit Link is your cooldown, so shut up. And then we roll on to today. And they changed their mind. They switched that shit up. They was like, oh, well, forget what we said last week, and in fact, we're going to do this. In fact, it was Resto Shaman 5.4 issues and concerns. Relax, right? Relax. We're going to change Resto Shamans. So, previously, they kind of indicated that Resto Shaman were fine. In fact, before we had that quote about Healing Tide Totem, they went ahead and they said, hey. Shh. They said that everything was pretty much fine. They were happy. And HPS, in fact, the quote was, HPS is a terrible way to measure healers, so shut the fuck up. Healing Tide Totem's not a raid cooldown, and your HPS isn't a good way of measuring it. You are good in other ways. Which is kind of what your mother says to you when you suck at something, right? You know when you see Jimi Hendrix, hopefully you saw Jimi Hendrix, or you see the boss, Mr. Bruce, or you see Adam Sandler playing that guitar, and you ask your wonderful parents, can I have Guitar Hero? Because, hey, we're still nerds, right? We're still fucking nerds. I don't want a guitar, I want Guitar Hero. Right? Guitar Hero. And you get Guitar Hero, and suddenly Dragon Force comes on, and you're like, holy shit, I don't know what the fuck to do. And he's like, well, you're not very good at it. Yeah, right. Okay. He said, don't worry about it. This is what Blizzard was asking. I was like, hey, it's okay. It's okay. You're good in your own way. You're good at your own special things. Blizzard was kind of saying that way. We just want to be able to do a lot of healing because we're a healer. Everybody else is doing a lot of healing. We're not. And it's kind of suck. You took away our totems. That was why I rolled the class. Blah, blah, blah. And they're now going to change it. So Healing Tide Totem is now baseline. Everybody gets it. Yay. Happy Shamans. Bet you're not. Bet you don't give a shit. Healing Tide Totem is now baseline. Kind of cool for the DPSs, I guess. That they get to drop a Healing Tide Totem without giving up some awesome talent. which was in that tier. You know the ones. It's a really exciting tier. They do say they're going to spice up the tier, but they're going to give it to you. And now they can do what they've been doing with the other spells, which is alter how they work in 25 and 10. Now, this is going to be a important issue later on, is the idea that how do we work in different size raids, because it's actually quite relevant. Healing Tide Totem is our baseline, so we're going to make it so in a 25 it heals 12 people, and in a 10 man it will heal 5. It will heal 5 in anything below a 25 player. How does that work for Flex Raid, I wonder? Have you considered Flex Raid in this kind of stuff? Will it scale up? I don't know. I don't know. It says in 25 it will heal 12. Anything else, it will be 5. How does that work in a Flex Raid? I have to ask the question because that is now relevant. They're now relevant. So will Shaman get gradually worse as we work up? Although apparently it does work the same with Divine Hymn and so on and so forth. So they're going to bake this in and then it's an official cooldown. This is the good thing. It's going to be an official cooldown. It's regulation. So you're going to have Healing Stream and you're going to have your Healing Tide. And that's now baked in and it's going to have certain buffs and stuff like that. So it's actually now going to be an actual cooldown, which it was before. Right? It was before. Let's not kid ourselves. It was already a cooldown and it was already pretty powerful. It was something that we picked up. But now it's like, well, it's official now. So they can do crazy things with it. So it's nice to see a flip-flop. Recognizing some of the issues, it's good to see. There are other changes coming to for Resto Shaman and the PTR that we're not going to tell you about. I'm sure they're going to be awesome. Whatever those changes are, we'll wait and see. There's nothing worse than, hey, we're going to change it, but we're not telling you when and we're not telling you how. It's going to happen, so look forward to it. We can't really look forward to that, right? We don't know what the fuck it's going to be. It's the old 10 and 25 argument. But what I want to bring it to is I asked you guys to email me. I asked you guys to get in contact and do some writing. Put your pen to your paper or put your fingers to your keyboard. And let me know if you were a classic Resto Shaman and you lived with your Resto Shaman, as most Shamans tend to do. They tend to be Shamans from a long time. Shaman. Are we doing America Day? Shaman. Shaman from a long time ago. And you did! You came back to me in fucking all sorts of droves and stuff like that. And so many of you are actually long-term Resto Shaman. Long-term Resto Shaman. And I like that. I like that you are long-term Resto Shaman. And some of you have given up, which is a bit sad. I received about 35, 40 emails on the subject. Some of you have abandoned it. Alright, abandon the Resto Shaman. Which kind of sucks that you abandon your class. Because some of you actually wrote emails where you were really upset about this. It was like, I can't go through this again. It's kind of like being mistreated all the time. It's like, I've had enough. I've genuinely had enough. And that's a horrible feeling to have in a game, is where you love something. Because a lot of you said that you really enjoy the playstyle. You enjoyed the totem work. I found totems kind of fiddly. I always spotted, I used to say as in Kata, a bad shaman is somebody who doesn't drop totems pretty much every single time we move. Through a 5-man, it was really rare to see totems down all the time, whereas I just dropped them all the time. I thought it was really such a powerful buff. You should have been doing that. But you loved the playstyle. They took totems away, which was kind of a pisser. A lot of you really resented that. Surprisingly, actually. Although it was a quality of life improvement, it was something that drew you to the class. The whole idea of dropping these buffed totems and placing them all over the place, even though you still do that to a limited fashion now, you really enjoyed that aspect of just having this sort of little thing to manage and little thing to control. And it was a bit for unique for your class. You could see the shamans with the totems down and all that kind of stuff. When they took that away, you got really pissed off. And I kind of understand that. But it was actually just the healing side of it. Catty, you got really shit on, and then Mr. Pandora didn't seem to be getting any better. So I'm going to have picked a few emails here which are more relevant and a little bit more in-depth, which I thought was cool. I like it when you go in-depth. But one of the big concerns, well, two big concerns, was one was raid size and absorbs. We spoke a little bit about absorbs, and I kind of bashed absorbs. So one of you wrote me a really big email about absorbs, and how you felt absorbs treated the game and that it created unique stuff, but we'll get to that shortly. I just wanted to read this. I play a Resto Shaman and have since Cataclysm. I was a long-time hunter, so somebody changed from a DPS to a healer. And then I started healing on my Shaman, and I've never looked back. I agree with your statements about Shaman usually getting their buffs towards the end of the expansion, and have completely loved my new healer feels with the Spirit Haste Mastery balance I have. The issue I see that Blizzard has with us is that they recently came out with a statement, albeit through Ghostcrawler, that said that Healing Tide Totem is not considered a major cooldown. but a talent. I find that quite interesting, as the way that our game style really does revolve around our utility and being able to provide 2 solid raid healing cooldowns. Ascendance in combination with Healing Stream Totem and Healing Rain, and Healing Tide Totem in combination with Spiritling Totem and Healing Rain. Then goes on to say that Healing Rain is a pain in the ass in 10-man. And his effectiveness in a 10-man was greatly reduced. Healing Rain used to be, let's just say it, right? Let's just say Healing Rain was just ridiculous. Healing Rain was possibly one of the most powerful spells through all of Cataclysm. Yeah? Healing Rain was just crazy. Healing Rain was just awesome. In fact, most Shaman, by the end of the Dragon Soul, especially in LFR, I missed Freedom, I didn't mention Freedom, is that Healing Rain was just down constantly. In fact, you would save your mana and Lightning Bolt in between Healing Rains. I'm sure some of you guys who've tried a Shaman in, say, Dragon Soul LFR would often just be Lightning Bolting and dropping Healing Rain and having just great old fun, topping the healing meters with such things. And if you're feeling cheeky, if you're feeling like a little bit of a hero, you would go ahead and drop a Chain Heal on that sumbitch. In between Healing Rains, of course. We want to keep Healing Rain on cooldown. But Healing Rain kind of sucks now. Healing Rain kind of sucks now, especially in a 10-man, because you need at least 5 people in it for it to be worth casting. And that's really sad, because Healing Rain is a nice staple idea of the Shaman, isn't it? Healing Rain is kind of grown into something we expected of the Shaman, but not so much. And now, in 25-man, Healing Rain is great. Healing Rain's a great spell, but in 10-man, it's useless. How do you feel about that? How do you feel that in one raid, as a healer, you're punished, almost, for being in a different raid size compared to your compadres over in the other raid? DPS don't really have that problem. DPSs aren't punished because they're in a 10-man, particularly. No more than anybody else, due to like mechanics changes and things like that. And tanks certainly aren't. But the Shaman is. Shaman's like punished because this raid involves being spread out, and now I can't use one of my very effective heals. Although I can actually, in a 25-man, I will be able to get great use out of this spell, and I like this spell. To make your spell useless, not useless, but far less effective, because of your raid size. I was trying to think of spells where that is also true. I was trying to think of spells where that was also true. I was trying to think of healing spells where it was definitely punished. It was just a far worse spell in one side to the other. Holy Radiance? Holy Radiance emits out from you, so I don't really feel that Holy Radiance. Shrooms, maybe. I kind of thought of Shrooms. I even thought a little bit about Efflorescence. But Efflorescence can be put on the melee, right? So it's not that bad. Yeah, I did think about Efflorescence and all that kind of stuff. But I didn't think anything was even close to how bad Healing Rain is in comparison. I didn't think anything else was better. And then you're kind of limited, because now you don't really have any other choices for AoE healing. Right? You've got your Healing Stream Totem, which is like, it's okay. Healing Stream Totem's kind of okay. Going 25-man not always an option. True. Yeah, I couldn't think of any spell that was even close to feeling that way. So I kind of felt your pain on that. I could empathize with that situation, is that I have this spell which is awesome in one situation and it's shitty in the other. And that doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel right, because it actually punishes me further, because I could be more effective. My class is actually more effective in a different way in this other type of raid. And what I don't want to be is like hurt because I'm not in that type of raid. It then went on to mention tier 16 set bonuses. Do you feel that will still be enough of a vamp to the class to allow us to raid in the final tier? Or are we still going to be like a red-headed stepchild? I might be having a red-headed child. Watch your mouth. There's a ginger possibility with my child. Watch your mouth. Just saying, watch your mouth. I don't care if it does or not. Simply, I hate set bonuses that carry classes. It really fucking pisses me off. Anything, let's say your tier 16 set bonuses, and I'm not going to mention them because they're always subject to change, the set bonuses, is amazing. That sucks that it's required. It just fucks your freedom over, and it doesn't mean the class is working. If you need a set bonus to be truly effective, that doesn't mean your class is working. It means your class has a crutch. Okay. Anytime that a set bonus is really making you overpowered, or making you on par, or making you balanced, is a good way of saying it. If your set bonus is what's making you balanced, then that's not a good fix. Set bonus is supposed to be a little bit of fun. You finally picked up that tier, you gain a little bit of an extra bonus, not game breaking. That's what a set bonus is supposed to be. The set bonus isn't supposed to be like, oh, now finally I'm useful to the raid. I've been a burden up until this point. Now I'm useful to the raid. That's not the way it's supposed to be, ever. So I really don't like that kind of stuff. We're going to move on very quickly to another one. I got some really big emails, so I'm going to be kind of brief. Another Resto Shaman whining. Resto Shaman whining. This one was kind of focused on absorbs, which leads us into the next bit about absorbs. We have plenty of cooldowns, however many of them are not useful in raids. We are, for instance, the only class that can break fear, charm, and sleep effects from the entire raid. But because of that, you don't see bosses that require such mechanics. I think we had one throughout Mr. Pandaria that we know of. I think we had the one, the Empress, right? She was the only one who kind of needed Shaman. Anyway, most of them are DPSs. So instead, I'd like to look at which cooldowns we have at our disposal and how our heals work in comparison to other classes. It would be overpowered and go against Blizzard's policy if bosses had such mechanics because of bring the player, not the class. There is a downside to bring the player, not the class. Because if your class is underpowered and the mechanics don't suit your boss, then why are you going to be brought? You're relying exclusively on the player. It's all the bring the player, not the class strategy is kind of a nice idea. Communism works in theory. Freedom works better, right? Communism works in theory. Communism works in theory. But it's like it's one of those things. It's like it's good in theory. It's good in theory, but bring the player, not the class, doesn't really. It actually puts a lot of restrictions on bosses. More than you might realize is how restrictive we can be on mechanics due to bosses. Now, we tried to do homogenization to fix that, such as everybody can dispel. Remember previously, only certain classes could dispel. Remove curse, things like that. And then we needed to balance the raid out. Is it going to be like a drinking game every time I say freedom? Because I'll get you guys pissed, I'm telling you. It's all about mixing these things together. And mechanics are actually softened and lessened because of this. And therefore we can't have things... We can't have nice things because of bring the player, not the class. To a certain extent, not widespread. Not widespread by any means. You can see, for example, that in the arena and general PvP, Shamans are really, really good. This is because there are so many different cases where our cooldowns cover a lot of problems you can get into in PvP. Alright? It's an interesting side. So Shamans are really powerful in PvP. And that's because they have all these tools. But we can't use them over there. We can't use them in the PvE world. In PvP, we use them all the fucking time, man. I'm amazing in PvP. I have so many goddamn tools in my toolbox, which is what I've said in the videos, is Shamans have so many things they can do. But it doesn't always require them. It doesn't always require them. Kind of similar to Paladins. It doesn't always require them. I do feel sorry for Paladins before you get all upset about Aura Mastery and how useful it is. You also spoke about how Spirit Link Totems sucked compared to Power Word Barrier, and I will agree. But only in terms of PvE. And again, that's because how many encounters are designed in situations where a lot of damage is going out. It's typically over more than 6 seconds. And it's even more often raid damage rather than single target damage. If you take the 3-headed badass from Throne of Thunder, for example, Megara, I assume, Spirit Link Totem would be massively overpowered if the Enrage ability only damaged the main tank. But again, since we're the only class to bring such a unique cooldown, making encounters around it is not fair to the other healers. Again, Spirit Link Totem is super good in PvP because of what... because that's about how much damage you can do in a single target. And the 10% damage reduction hardly matters there. It's all about spreading out the damage done. Interesting point again. Spirit Link Totem less effective than just flat out damage reduction. Spirit Link's bonus is that it can rebalance the health of the raid, right? That is why Spirit Link has only 10% damage reduction, where everything else has 20%. I'm sure it's all 20% besides that. But again, because that has that extra flavour to it, it has that extra flavour, that extra uniqueness, that extra thing that makes it enjoyable, it's not as good. The flavour and the variety and the uniqueness of that buff actually makes it less effective. It actually makes it worse than other classes, which isn't the way it should be. This is our big raid cooldown. This is what Blizzard said. This is the raid cooldown, right? This is the thing. This is why you're there. You're bringing Spirit Link Totem. Yeah, but Spirit Link Totem's not that great, actually, when you think about it. Spirit Link Totem doesn't work as well as we'd like compared to just other flat-out cooldowns. It's a good cooldown, no one's questioning it, but when you think about it a little bit, it's not actually as good as it could be because you give it uniqueness. The uniqueness is actually spoiling it. And now we can kind of see a lot of people saying, can we have a glyph that changes this so it doesn't rebalance health anymore? That it just buffs the damage protection by 10%? Can we have this? Can we have that? Why is it not like Power Word Barrier? You're homogenizing all the classes, and in doing so, it actually pushes it. It pushes it towards another area. It pushes it into a way we don't particularly like. I want to talk about the absorbs briefly before we call it a day here and I go and pick up my poo. Absorbs. And just what those are the highlighted problems from Resto Shaman. That's how the Resto Shaman feel and why they're crying out for some help. As some of you pointed out in World of Logs, there are some Resto Shaman who are in the logs for certain fights. It's okay to win certain fights as a healer. Healing meters have never really mattered. It's all about raid composition and setup and what your healers are doing, what their assignments are. Trying to compare healers via, say, a World of Logs chart is really difficult. It's really difficult because of how healing works in comparison to DPS. Not all healers are always out for maximum HPS. In fact, very rarely they are. Only when they're on super farm or doing some sort of cheesy ability or something like that. Healer assignments. You might even have a Resto Druid who would kill at AoE healing, but your single target healers suck, so you've got your Resto Druids doing other tasks, things like that. We talked about absorbs and the fact that they can passively buff bad players. Absorbs never really get wasted. They never really get wasted. Now, it's a guy who came back and was like, hey, fuck you. Now, I have to question whether or not you are a discipline priest. Okay. Are you a discipline priest who wrote this? Because if you're a dis priest, kind of invalidates your argument, right? If you're going to moan about absorbs being fine, just tell me you're not a dis priest. I don't find that absorbs are an issue with heals balance. The real culprit with heals balance is something I don't think that Blizzard will ever be able to fix. The boss fight itself is the real issue with healer balance. I just don't think it would be healthy to have heals stay as balanced as, say, DPS are in each fight. If Blizzard was to go that step, then I believe that all heals would start to feel like playing the same class. He's got a point, right? Got a point. If we all just did flat-out healing, in so many different healing classes, we'd all just be trying to snipe each other. It would be who heals first. That would be it. That would be the whole game, and it wouldn't matter what you were playing, right? It wouldn't matter what you were playing. It's boring. Considering we don't really have Shaman tomes anymore. Monks, I would say, are the most unique class right now. But if everything was kind of the same, we didn't have things like absorbs, we'd just be who heals first. And it's a race, and then people go and faster and stuff like that. Not that it was too much of a problem in the past. If you look at World of Logs, you'll find that healers are doing the best on each fight as simply because of how the fight works. Let's take a look at each of the fight. Jinrot the Breaker is a fight that the raid damage that goes out in a steady is steady, with sections of huge burst damage. Now, if you look, Dis Priests are not the best healers for this fight, and the logs show that generally the best healers for this fight are Windwalker Monks and Holy Paladins. Because of the constant rage damage, there is no way for a Dis Priest to build their Absorb shields to soak huge burst damage, which is the power of Dis Priest. Classes with big bursty heals shine here. True. Without looking at the obvious boss like Horadon, let us look at a boss that Dis shines on, which is Tortos. And the reason is this boss fight has low raid damage, followed by huge raid-wide damage burst, allowing them to build huge absorbs on the entire raid. Fights with constant rage damage with huge burst raid damage will always play to the strength of Resto Druids. My question is that you set aside what you feel about the absorbs being an issue. What is a Resto Shaman more suited for? 10 or 25? Question mark. Could it be an issue where Resto is lower on heals due to the way the fight works and the size of the raid? I found Resto Shamans do better in 25-man comparative to other heals, which we said before, than they do in 10-man. So, this idea that healing is about the fight. I don't like that in one respect because that's not fair to players. That, oh, I'm good on this fight and I'm shit on another. You know, it's not as clear-cut as that, it's not as black and white as that, but nobody likes to feel like, oh, I'm good, now I'm bad. Oh, I'm good, now I'm bad. And then Shaman, of course, I'm bad. Right? No one likes that. It's like, oh, this is great for me, but because of my class, not because of me as a player. This fight is awesome for me because of what I play. The next fight is terrible for me because of what I play. It doesn't matter how good I am. This fight is just terrible for me. But it does add flavour and uniqueness. If all the heals were the same, we'd be stuck in there. So where does the balance lie? That is the question. Where does the balance lie? How do we strike this balance between the types of healing we do, our niche roles, which we'd love to maintain? Nobody wants to be the same. Nobody wants to be like, are you rolling a shaman, a monk, or a priest? Well, it doesn't matter, does it? It's all the fucking same thing. Nobody likes that. That would suck. That's not freedom. That's not freedom. What we want is people to say, oh, yeah, we can do something with our class here. There was a big fight in Kata. A big fight to allow healers to transition to other roles. And a great idea of that is the Holy Priest, who can transition from AoE to single target. By being a better player, you can really manipulate that and pull off wonderful fucking things. I would like to see more of that to try and strike the balance, where we're actually pretty good at both. We're actually pretty good at both, but we have to decide what we're doing with our talents. Invite some fucking respecking, because people are determined to stay in the same spec. It's only a few players I see actually bothering to switch talents between bosses. So lazy. It's the cheapest thing in the world to have Tome with a clear mind. It's so cheap, it really is. To be much better at a fight. And then to try and strike some talents that are beneficial in one way and beneficial in a different way. Not just like, oh, well, Holy Prism's great because I don't really need to single target that often. I'd rather do more healing with AoE. And that's it. Oh, we have burst damage here, so I use Divine Star. Not Divine Star, the other one. Cascade. Cascade, and we do all that kind of stuff. And it's interesting to see that healers are stuck in this weird position. It's like an antiquated position. I want us to look at healers. I'm going to be playing all the healers next week. We're going to be doing the Should You Roll, Holy Paladin. I kind of did Monk not too long ago. I'll see if that wants a revamp. I'm also going to throw in there, just for a little bit of info, I'm going to throw in an Arms Warrior guide. Arms Warriors kind of need doing again. I'm going to play them on the PTR. I'm going to go on the PTR and play around with some Arms Warrior stuff and see how that's going. A lot of you have been asking for Arms Warriors and how they're doing. I think it's about time we stuck that in. The Arms Warrior guide is way out of date now. It needs revamping. So I'm going to be looking at that. But I didn't come to a conclusion, I think is the point about Resto Shamans. Is their whining deserved? They kind of do feel like the odd one out. There's no denying that. They're not particularly strong in either sense of the way. If we're just going to break it down to something like single target and AoE, they're not particularly strong. If the raid is spread out, they're not that strong. If the raid is together, it depends on what raid size you are. They've definitely got problems. They've definitely got problems. There's no doubt about that. Nobody's bringing that into question. Can it be fixed easily? I don't think so. I don't think so without literally having to borrow from another class and just making your class less fun and more like something else. They're dangerously close to becoming just like something else. But all your cooldowns for the Resto Shaman are very similar. Stream just heals what's around it. Healing Tide heals what's around it. Then we think about Chain Heal, just leaps around and does what it's for. And Healing Rain. We've got like 3 different styles of healing that are all the same. All the same kind of thing. So we've got like, oh, I've got 3 cooldowns. Well, yeah, but they're all kind of the fucking same, right? They're all kind of the fucking same thing. What I want to be able to do is move things around. I would like to see something like Healing Storm, where we can set a storm in motion, where your Healing Rain actually travels. Healing Tide and Healing Stream do the totem of healing a specific amount of people in one area. Why can't I set off a storm that will travel through people and things like that? A little bit of flavour that might give it some sort of oomph, right? I want to actually make it rain. My rain just moves around. Maybe some little tweaks like that. That'll just make it a little bit more fun and separate and make our cooldowns more unique instead of being all the same. Nobody wants the fucking cooldowns to be the same. That would be absolute dog shit. That would be absolutely terrible. Thank you for all your emails that you sent in about Resto Shaman. We didn't come to a conclusion. Not easy to. Not easy to. So I think what we'll do is I'll just tease you and see what drama stories we've got for tomorrow. I haven't read through them yet, but I know we've had quite a lot. In fact, I look at 54 emails in my drama inbox. Yes, 54. Perhaps we do require an extra day doing those. Okay, let's have a look. Cruel Barbarian Girls. Don't know about that one. Cruel Barbarian Girls? I don't know. Blame the Officer? That sounds more like a drama story. Yeah, I don't want the show to turn into a porn stream. We've had a lot of ERP recently. We've had a lot of ERP. LFR not such a bad place at all. RTF. I don't even know what an RTF. My Crazy WoW Journey. Cool. What's this one? No story and in text format. Jesus. Okay, we've got a lot of... Everybody keeps calling this story drama story. This is my drama story. This is the one that is in there. Okay, we've got a lot in here. My ERP drama story. I don't think we're ready for another ERP story. I don't think that demonstrates our freedom. I don't think that really brings us together. Yeah, I don't know. maybe. I'm gonna have to read through Barbarian Girls, aren't I? I'm gonna have to check out the Barbarian Girls. So don't quote me that'll definitely be on the story list tomorrow. Don't quote me on that. I'm gonna leave now. I'm gonna be back in hopefully about an hour. I think it's going to take me about an hour to get all my jobs done. I'm going to sit down and play a little bit of Modern Warfare 2 until Mr. Ghost arrives, whenever that time may be. So if you want to stick around for that, I should be back in about an hour, and then I'll see you then. So whatever you're doing, have a great night. I'll see you tomorrow for Drama Friday. Thank you for tuning in, guys. Be good. Be good.